Okay, usually when we start these deep dives, there's, I don't know, a certain energy, bit of a bounce.
Yeah.
I've got my coffee, you know the drill.
Mm.
Maybe I've done a few jumping jacks, I'm ready to go. But today, honestly, I feel like I've just been through the heavy-duty cycle in a washing machine with, like, a bag of rocks.
You look about as good as I feel. I caught a glimpse of myself in the monitor reflection before we hit record.
Oh, no.
And I swear I've aged 5 years in the last 24 hours. My digital avatar is doing this ruffled thing.
The ruffled look.
Yeah, my hair's a mess, and the circles under my eyes have their own circles. It's not a great look.
It's not just being tired, though, is it? It's something else.
Yeah.
It's a spiritual kind of exhaustion.
That's it.
We've covered some really heavy topics, complex physics, economic collapses, historical tragedies. But the stack of sources we went through for this dive, it didn't feel like research. It felt like an assault.
That is the perfect word for it, an assault. Usually when we're prepping, we're parsing data, we're looking for trends, trying to find the signal in the noise.
Right.
This time, we were just wading through pure, unfiltered, high-octane aggression. It was a battering ram of nihilism, straight to the face.
So if we sound a little rough around the edges today, listener, that's why. We were recovering from a vibe check that we did not exactly pass.
We failed it spectacularly.
But, and this is the crucial point, we had to go through it. Because what we found in this ecosystem of outrage, in these screaming manifestos and forgotten lyrics, is something that explains, well, it explains almost everything about why the internet feels the way it does right now.
It really does. I mean, if you've ever wondered why opening certain social media apps gives you an instant tension headache, or why watching the news leaves you with this vague sense of nausea, this is the deep dive for you.
Yeah.
But I have to warn you, the central thesis we're digging into today is it's uncomfortable. It's this idea that we aren't just victims of all this noise.
That's the part that gets you. That's the kicker. That's what kept me staring at the ceiling last night.
Yeah.
The premise here is that we, you, me, you listening right now, we aren't just passive bystanders getting yelled at by the internet.
No.
We are accomplices, willing accomplices in our own destabilization.
We are looking at a brutal dissection of the relationship between the screamers, the influencers, the pundits, the so-called journalists, and us, the listeners.
And the question on the table, the one we're going to try to answer, is this. Are we just useful idiots applauding our way to the slaughterhouse?
It's a heavy question. And to get there, we have a really strange, eclectic mix of sources. We have two anonymous, extremely aggressive manifestos.
Written with that all-caps energy,
Totally. Just pure rage. And they're criticizing the media landscape, food alarmism, and what they call the zombification of the public.
And then just to throw a curveball in there, we have lyrics from Syd Barrett.
Right. From Pink Floyd.
Specifically, his song Bob Dylan Blues, which seems like it comes out of total left field until you actually read the lyrics, and then you realize, oh, this is the same story.
It's the same mechanism.
Yeah.
Just 50 years apart. It's uncanny.
So our mission today is to decode that mechanism. We need to understand the mechanics of what one of the sources calls vampirization. How is our attention being sucked dry? And are we holding the straw for them?
Let's dive in. And hey, maybe by the end of this, we can figure out how to stop feeling so ruffled.
Fingers crossed. Let's start with that first source, this text. Wow. It does not pull any punches. It basically starts by grabbing you by the collar and just shaking you.
Yeah.
And the core argument is something called the song remains the same.
Right. And it's specifically targeting a group of people we all see constantly now, the anti-system influencers and journalists. You know the archetype.
Oh, I know them well.
The ones who build their entire brand on telling you that they, whoever they are lying to you, that the mainstream is corrupt, and that only they have the real truth. They're the beacon in the dark. My feed is full of them. Every single day.
Right.
But what's so interesting here is that this source turns the tables on them. Usually, the critique of these people is that they're, conspiracy theorists, or that they're just wrong on the facts. But this source accuses them of something different. It accuses them of being miserable ultra chiefs, or Cappy Ultra with foam at the mouth.
That Cappy Ultra metaphor is...
Yeah.
It's just so powerful. And it probably needs a little unpacking for anyone who isn't deep into European soccer culture.
Right.
The Ultras are these hardcore, highly organized fan groups. They aren't just regular fans. They are almost paramilitary in their structure, their dedication. And the Cappy, the chiefs, they're the leaders.
So not just the guy with the face paint. This is the general.
Exactly. And here is the absolutely critical insight from that metaphor. The Cappy Ultra
stands on a platform with his back to the game.
His back to the game.
Yes. He doesn't watch the soccer match. He faces the crowd. His entire job is to dictate the chants, to organize the aggression, to whip his section of the stadium into a frenzy.
So he's conducting an orchestra of rage.
Precisely. But he isn't playing the game. He's on the sidelines, profiting, in a way, in status and power, from the emotion of the crowd. He controls the energy, but he takes none of the physical risks of the athletes on the field.
That is a devastating image when you apply it to political influencers. I can picture it perfectly. They're standing with their backs to the actual complex events. And they're just screaming at us to get angrier, to chant louder, to light the flares.
And the source claims these people are not just commentators, they're actually part of the very system they claim to be fighting. It says something like, you defended this woman, referring to the system, or maybe a specific figure of power who until yesterday had the maximum power and corruption.
So it's accusing them of hypocrisy, of playing both sides.
It's accusing them of being mercenaries. It says that when it was convenient, they defended the powerful. And now that the power dynamic has shifted, now that the powerful have, quote, no longer needed them, they're left stranded. They're just these angry chiefs with no army, scrambling for scraps of attention.
Which leads right into this concept of the illusion of opposition. The source calls it a partita truccata.
A fixed match, a rigged game.
I think this is such a crucial concept for anyone trying to understand the modern media space. It's like professional wrestling, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kayfabe.
Kayfabe is the perfect analogy. It really is. When you watch wrestling, or you're supposed to believe that the fight is real. But backstage, the face, the good guy, and the heel, the bad guy, they're coworkers.
Right. They probably share a locker room.
Right.
Maybe carpool to the arena.
Exactly. They plan the moves together. They have to trust each other with their bodies to put on a good show without getting seriously injured. The conflict is a performance for the audience.
But in the media landscape, we forget that. We get so caught up in the drama, in the tribalism. We really believe the anti-stuffdom guy is actually fighting the mainstream media guy to the death.
And this text just grabs you and says, no, stop, it's a show. They are both playing the same game. They need each other. The heel is just as important as the face. Without an enemy, the hero has no story.
And the game is extraction. That's the business model. It's not about truth. It's not about justice.
It's about extraction. The source is crystal clear on this. Whether you are pro or against, if you are engaged in the spectacle, you are the one who is losing. You are providing the resources.
And it lists them, doesn't it?
It does. It explicitly lists them. Time, attention, money, life.
Yeah.
Those are the commodities being mined from you. The influencer, it doesn't matter if they're a corporate shill in a suit or a rebel yelling from their basement, is just a merchant. And they are selling you anger.
They're selling you a feeling, a powerful, addictive feeling.
And they get your attention, which they then sell to advertisers, or they sell you supplements, or they sell you a subscription. The ideology is just the wrapping paper.
It's interesting you mentioned the merchant aspect because the text uses some really desperate imagery to describe these sellers of outrage. It says rags flying from desperation. And it talks about refreshed virgins, for virginal rifat, trying to attract attention in the chaos. What is that about?
That phrase, virginal rifat, is just brutal. It's so cynical. It implies a loss of purity that is being surgically, artificially reconstructed.
Like they're trying to reclaim some kind of moral authority they already sold off?
Exactly. It paints a picture of a media landscape that's collapsing into chaos, what the source calls an infodemic. As the old system starts to fray, as the traditional gatekeepers lose power, the desperation to capture a slice of the attention pie gets more and more intense.
So the performance has to get more extreme.
It has to. You can't just report the news anymore. You can't just have a normal, nuanced opinion. You have to be a refreshed virgin. You have to reinvent yourself constantly, make your outrage louder, your claims more shocking, your thumbnails brighter, your headlines more terrifying.
You have to scream to be heard over the noise that you yourself helped create.
Precisely. And this leads to the state of chaos completo mentioned in the source. Complete chaos. It's a marketplace of hysteria where everyone is trying to outscream everyone else.
There's a line in there that really hit me hard. It says they slam scandal and horror in the face of those who, until yesterday, believed horror was a thing for the cinema.
That is such a profound observation on modern life. Think about the traditional function of horror movies.
We pay money to go into a dark room and be scared in a controlled, safe environment. It's catharsis. The monster is on the screen, not under our bed.
Right. And when the credits roll, you walk out into the light and you're safe.
But the text is arguing that this boundary has completely dissolved. Horror has transitioned from fiction to reality as content. We don't need to go to the cinema to be scared anymore. We just open our phones, the monster is in our pocket.
And we are addicted to it.
Wow.
And this is the part that turns back on us, the reader. The text isn't just blaming the influencers for selling the horror.
No, not at all.
It's blaming the audience for eating it up. It says you fed on the same carcasses.
Fed on the same carcasses. What a visceral, disgusting image. It suggests we're scavengers. We're like vultures circling.
We doom scroll. We actively look for the worst news, the most infuriating take. We click on the things that make us the angriest.
And the text says, because of this appetite for carrion, we are all accomplices.
Even those who just read. Even the passive observers.
That's the most damning part of the indictment. You can't say, oh, I just observe the culture war from a distance. No. The text says, by observing it, you validate it. You provide the metrics. You are the battery that powers the machine.
Every click is a vote.
Every share is fuel. If you stop to look at the car crash on the side of the road, you are part of the traffic jam, even if you're just reading.
So if the machine is fixed, if it's a rigged game, we're essentially just betting our sanity, our peace of mind, on a wrestling match where the outcome was decided in the writer's room weeks ago.
And we're paying for the privilege with our anxiety levels, our blood pressure, and our ability to trust other human beings.
This idea of the performer of rebellion is just. It's a perfect bridge to our next source, to a character who knew a thing or two about performance and sanity, or, well, the loss of it. Said Barrett.
The original Diamond. A man who definitely stared a little too long into the abyss.
We have the lyrics here from a song he wrote called Bob Dylan Blues. Now, on the surface, it's just a folk song parody. It's light, it's acoustic, it sounds like a joke.
It does.
But when you read it in the context of this deep dive, it feels less like a joke and more like a prophecy. It feels like he saw this entire influencer economy coming decades and decades ago.
It's an absolute blueprint. He's deconstructing the exact same archetype, the prophet for profit, the figure who claims to speak the truth, who presents himself as the voice of the generation.
But who's actually just running a business.
Exactly. Let's look at the lyrics. It starts, got the Bob Dylan blues, and my clothes and my hair is in a mess.
Okay, stop right there. My clothes and my hair is in a mess.
Yeah.
That's literally us today.
It is. It's our ruffled look. But for the character in the song, it's a costume. It's a calculated aesthetic.
But you know, I just couldn't care less.
Right. It's a performance of authenticity. I'm a poet, don't you know it? He has to look the part of the tortured, rebellious artist so he can sell the image. It's curated authenticity.
It's the exact same thing as the influencers who film themselves in their messy cars or their unkempt apartments to seem real and unfiltered.
It's the I woke up like this of political commentary. It's a brand.
And then the mask slips completely. He says, gonna write me a song about what's right and what's wrong because my gut and my wallet are fat.
And there it is, the whole game exposed in 2 lines, the absolute disconnect between the message and the reality.
He's singing about justice, what's right and what's wrong. He's singing about war and the cold, big, important, serious topics.
But his personal reality is comfort, a fat gut and a fat wallet. He is capitalizing on the suffering of others. He takes the world's pain, he processes it, turns it into a catchy rhyme, and sells it back to the very people who are feeling that pain.
It's the same dynamic as the anti-system journalist in Source One. They scream about corruption, about the elites, about the collapse of society. But are they suffering?
No, they're monetizing the collapse. They're building a brand on the rubble. They're selling survival kits and newsletters about how to protect your assets while the world burns.
And just like that influencer in Source One who is described as desperate for attention, the singer in Barrett's song is obsessed with his own status. Because I'm Mr. Dylan the King, and I'm free as a bird on the wing.
He is free. He's a king. He's above the fray. But his listeners, his followers, they're the ones who are trapped. They're down in the mud of the real world he's singing about, while he just flies above it all in his metaphorical private jet.
There's a line in there that I found really funny, but also incredibly dark. He says, I've got soul and a good heart of gold, so I'll sing about war in the cold. It's just dripping with sarcasm.
Oh, it's pure acid. It reminds me of those celebrity charity videos. You know, look at me, aren't I such a good person? I'm singing about how terrible things are for other people while I sit here in my multi-million-dollar mansion.
It's the ultimate virtue signal. And the most devastating part is when he exposes the relationship with the fan.
Yes.
Well, the guy that digs me should try hard to see that he buys all my discs in a hat.
Buys all my discs in a hat. That is the 1960s equivalent of smash that like button, comment, and subscribe to my Patreon.
Or buy my brain-boosting supplements with my special discount code.
Exactly. The hat is the merch. It's the badge of identity. It's the physical token of your allegiance.
You buy the hat to show that you're part of the tribe.
Yes.
You buy the hat to prove that you're one of the smart ones, that you're anti-system.
But by buying the hat, you are literally feeding the system you think you're fighting against. You're making the king fatter. You are paying for his freedom while you remain a customer.
And then there's the line about being a prophet. I can prophesy all kinds of things.
Yeah.
That connects right back to the alarmism we see in the other sources, doesn't it?
It's a direct link. The full line is, I rhymes it with seems, because it seems that my dream always means that I can prophesy all kinds of things.
He's admitting it's all vague.
He's exposing the trick. The prophet doesn't actually know anything. They just make these vague, ominous predictions because that's what keeps the audience hooked. It's like a psychic's cold reading.
I see darkness in your future,
Duh.
but for $9.99 a month on my Substack, I can tell you more.
That's the business model. If you say, you know what, things are complicated, but overall it's probably going to be okay, nobody buys the hat. Contentment doesn't sell.
No.
But if you say, the war is coming, the financial collapse is imminent, they're coming for your children, the food is poison, you sell out the stadium. Fear is the greatest sales pitch in the history of mankind.
It's the monetization of anxiety. And that transitions us perfectly and, I have to say, painfully to Source 2. Because Source 1 was a slap in the face.
Uh-oh.
Source 2 is, well, it's a kick in the stomach while you're down.
It is. Source 2 focuses on food alarmism, specifically the recent panic about insects being used in flour and other food ingredients. But let's be very clear here. The insects are just the hook. They're the way in.
And the pretext.
Exactly. The text uses that topic to launch a blistering, merciless attack on the consumer's intelligence and complicity.
The tone is unbelievably hostile. I mean, right off the bat, it says, you wouldn't know how to read a food label even if it were truthful. And then it just commands, eat them and shut up.
It's mocking the delayed reaction of the public. The source is essentially saying, you're outraged about this now. Seriously, you've been willingly eating chemical sludge and processed garbage for 50 years. You've been blind for decades.
So the anger here isn't really directed at the food producers.
No, the anger is directed at the passivity of the public. The writer is basically saying, you are too late, the game is over, you already lost, you surrendered your discernment a long, long time ago for convenience and cheap calories.
And this is where we get that term, the useful idiot, in its most direct form. Utili idioti.
Right, a classic political term. It's often attributed to Lenin, though that's debated, but the meaning is clear. A useful idiot is someone who passionately supports a cause without fully understanding its goals, and who is, as a result, manipulated by the leaders of that cause.
And in this context, the source is saying the consumer is a useful idiot for the food industry, for the media, for the entire system.
Yes, but the text takes it so much further than just calling people idiots. It completely dehumanizes the consumer. It starts using these brutal animal metaphors. And we have to talk about the seal, the foca amastrata.
A trained seal.
This image is just haunting, and I think it perfectly captures the core of the source's argument about the consumer's complicity. Just picture a seal at a water park.
Okay.
It claps its flippers, it barks on command, it balances a colorful ball in its nose. Why does it do all this?
For a fish. For a reward.
For a treat. And the source describes the public as trained seals who applaud while heading to the slaughterhouse.
That is just so dark. So we're clapping at the spectacle. The latest news story, the viral outrage, the tweet from our favorite influencer thinking we're being entertained.
We're thinking we're participating, thinking we're making a difference.
But actually, we're just moving down the conveyor belt. The applause is part of our programming. We have been conditioned to react in a specific way. Oh, a scandal. Clap, clap, clap. Oh, a new enemy to hate. Bark, bark, bark.
We feel like we're doing something meaningful, but we are just performing the tricks we were taught to perform. And we do it for that little fish.
And what's the fish in this metaphor? What's our reward?
It's that little dopamine hit of righteous anger, that fleeting sense of moral clarity. We see a headline, we get that jolt of outrage, we bark by sharing it with an angry comment, and for a moment, we feel alive and certain.
But we don't realize that the enclosure we're in, the whole arena, leads directly to the macello, the slaughterhouse.
Our agency has been outsourced.
A trained seal isn't making a conscious political statement when it barks. It's just doing what it's been trained to do to get fed.
And then, as if the seal wasn't a bleak enough image, we get the lemmings.
The lemming metaphor connects directly to the idea of a lack of choice. The source says, and this is a direct quote, "You have no choice, no control, no legitimate analysis."
And the myth of the lemming, which, we should point out is a biological myth, it was faked by a Disney documentary.
Right, they don't actually commit mass suicide. But as a cultural metaphor, it's incredibly potent. And it's all about blind, unthinking conformity.
One jumps, they all jump.
And why do they jump? That's the key question. They jump because they are programmed. The text is arguing that the public has lost the ability to stop, to pause, and to ask the fundamental question, wait a second, why am I jumping off this cliff? Why am I suddenly furious about insects in my food today when yesterday I didn't care at all?
They just do it because the person in front of them did it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the influencer they follow told them to be angry.
It's mimetic desire gone horribly wrong. It's the hive mind leading not to collective wisdom, but to collective self-destruction. The cliff isn't a leap of faith into freedom. It's an abyss of someone else's design.
And speaking of destruction and boundaries being violated, we have to talk about the window.
Oh, boy. The Overton window.
For anyone who might not know, can you give us the textbook definition before we get to the, let's say, vivid description in this source?
Sure. So the Overton window is a concept from political science. It describes the range of policies or ideas that are considered acceptable for mainstream discussion at a given time.
Okay.
If an idea is inside the window, it's seen as normal, sensible, a legitimate topic for debate. If it's outside the window, it's seen as radical, unthinkable, extremist. And the whole game of politics is about trying to shift that window to make your radical ideas seem normal over time.
Right. And usually we think of politicians or activists trying to move that window for everyone else. But this source has a very different take on it. It describes the positioning of that window in a very specific and anatomical location.
It does. It says the public auto-positions the Overton window in the ass.
Okay, we can laugh because it's crude and shocking, but let's actually unpack what that means. It's an image of self-violation.
That's exactly what it is. It's saying we are active participants in our own violation. The system doesn't even have to force the unacceptable on us anymore. We do it to ourselves.
We normalize our own degradation.
Yes. When the text says you normalize their plots, it means we take the abuse, we take the low-quality food, we take the political lies, we take the erosion of our privacy, and we say, well, I guess this is just how things are now. We accommodate the intrusion. We shift our own window of what's acceptable until we accept the completely unacceptable.
And the terrible irony, which the text points out with glee, is that we do all this while looking in the mirror and congratulating ourselves. We think we're smart, beautiful, and on the right side.
That's the ultimate tragedy of the useful idiot. They never, ever think they're the idiot. They think they're the enlightened ones, the resistance.
Once you get it.
Right. The source says, you look in the mirror. One smarter than the other. All on the side of the right. It's a mass delusion. We are patting ourselves on the back for our critical thinking skills while being methodically marched off a cliff. We think our angry tweet is an act of resistance, but it's just the programmed applause of the seal.
This brings us to the grand unifying theory of all this, I guess. The concept of autophagy.
Self-eating. Self-cannibalism.
Yes. This is where all the threads from these sources seem to come together. You have source 1 saying you fed on the same carcasses.
And then you have source 2 saying consume and be consumed.
It's a closed loop. A snake eating its own tail. We consume the content. The content, as we've established, is overwhelmingly horror, outrage, scandal. By consuming it, we give power, money, and attention to the system that produces it.
The system then grows stronger, more efficient, and produces even more potent horror for us to consume. And in this process, we ourselves are being consumed. Our time, our energy, our peace of mind, our very humanity. It's all on the menu.
It's vampirization. That's the word the source uses. Vampirize and you will be vampirized. Zombify and you will be zombified.
It's a principle of spiritual physics. What you put out, you get back. If you act like a zombie, mindless, just shuffling along with the horde, hungry for the next outrage, you become a zombie. You lose your individuality. You become just another mouth to feed and another body to be eaten by the system.
And the seller of horror, the influencer, the Sid Barrett King, they need us, don't they? They can't exist without the greedy consumer.
It's a perfectly symbiotic or perhaps parasitic relationship. A vampire needs a neck. The source actually calls us parasites, which is an interesting twist.
Yeah, I thought that was strange. Usually the influencer is seen as the parasite feeding on the public.
But this flips it. It suggests the audience is also parasitic. We are feeding off the drama. We crave it. The text says we want the bone to gnaw on. The Italian is spolpare l'osso.
To strip the bone bare.
Yes. It's such a desperate, primal image. It implies we are fundamentally starving. We're starving for meaning, for connection, for purpose. So we settle for the cheap calories of outrage. We gnaw on these scandals because we're hungry for something real, but all we get is gristle and bone marrow.
And that hunger makes us controllable.
Of course. If you can control what the dog eats, you can control the dog. If you can control what the public is outraged about on any given Tuesday, you can control the public. You can distract them from anything.
So the incredible anger in these texts, it's not just directed at the elites or the media or the government. It's directed at us, at the reader.
Absolutely. The reader is the primary target of the rage. It's a wake-up call in the form of a scream. It's grabbing the reader by the shoulders and shaking them and yelling, "Stop hitting yourself! Stop buying the hat! Stop clapping for the damn fish!"
But is it too late? I mean, the text ends on such a grim note. The end is already written in your DNA. Parasites. That sounds pretty final to me.
It does sound incredibly fatalistic. But that's the nature of a rant, isn't it? It pushes everything to the most extreme conclusion to make a point to shock you out of your complacency. The real question for us, sitting here, ruffled and exhausted, is there a way out? Or are we just doomed to be lemmings and seals forever?
Right. We can't end this deep dive just telling people to curl up in a ball and wait for the end.
Yeah.
There has to be some kind of exit strategy.
And I think the logic of the critique itself points to one solution. It's the only one that makes sense. Intellectual independence.
Intellectual independence. Okay. That sounds nice as the concept, a good phrase. But what does it actually mean in practice? Because Source 2 says we lack legitimate analysis and discernment. How do we get it back?
I think it means breaking the cycle of stimulus and response. That's the most fundamental part.
Okay, break that down for me.
When you see a headline or a video or a post that is perfectly engineered to make your blood boil, your first trained instinct is to react, to share, to comment, to scream, to clap like the seal. Intellectual independence means stopping. It means creating a space between the stimulus and your response. It means taking a breath. And in that space, asking a few simple questions.
Like what?
Who wants me to be angry right now? Who profits if I share this? Who is selling me this hat?
It's about not jumping off the cliff just because everyone else is running towards it. It's about being the one lemming that stops the edge, looks down and says, you know what? Nah, I'm good.
Exactly. It means refusing to be a fan of a political side in the same way you're a fan of a sports team. Because remember, the text says the match is fixed. If you are cheering for the anti-system influencer just because they are wearing your team's colors, you are still playing their rigged game. You're still in the stadium.
So it's about decoupling your identity from your information consumption to stop letting the discs and the hat define who you are as a person.
And to stop letting the manufactured outrage define your reality. You have to recognize that the endless stream of scandal and horror is a product. It is being manufactured, packaged, and sold to you just like any other consumer good.
And you have the right not to buy it.
You have the right to not buy it. You have the right to not eat the carcass. You can choose to look for something more nourishing.
That is a powerful thought. We have the right to starve the vampire.
If we stop feeding them our attention, they wither. If we stop clapping, the show ends. The circus leaves town.
And maybe, just maybe, if we stop consuming the horror 24/7, we can stop feeling so zombified.
We might even get rid of these dark circles under our eyes.
One can dream.
But seriously, it requires real effort. It's not passive. It requires what the source calls legitimate analysis. It means doing the hard, often boring work of thinking for yourself, of reading past the headline, of seeking out nuance.
Instead of letting an influencer chew your food for you and spit it into your mouth.
Another gross metaphor, but yes, point taken.
It's a gross world we just spent an hour looking at.
It is, but I feel like I understand it better now. I understand why I feel so drained so often. It's because I've been running on a hamster wheel designed to generate power for someone else's business.
And stepping off that wheel is the most revolutionary thing any of us can do.
So listener, here is the challenge. The so what of this entire dark, twisted journey we've been on.
Next time you feel that rush, that hot flash of outrage from a headline or an influencer.
Next time you see a refreshed virgin screaming about the end of the world, next time you feel that powerful urge to buy the hat of rebellion to signal which tribe you belong to,
just stop and ask yourself, are you actually fighting this system? Or are you just enthusiastically eating the carcass they threw in your bowl?
are you a player in the game? Or are you just the battery?
A provocative thought to leave you with. Try not to let the vampires bite tonight.
Stay human.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We are going to go take a nap now.
A very, very long nap.
See you next time.